Today we are still in the world of systems, but instead of graphing from slope-intercept form, where it was in the form y equals mx plus b, today we are going to graph from standard form, which means we have an x, we have a y, an equal sign, and then the number. So on this first page, we are just refreshing your memory on how to graph from standard form. So what it says here, it is just 2 steps, very easy. Step 1, it says we have to move the x term. So before we do that, let's set up what we have. Our goal is to get y by itself. In order to get y by itself, we need to move this number to the other side, and then we need to get rid of this 5. So we start by subtracting our 3x and subtracting 3x. That leaves me with a positive 5y equals. This is an x, this is a number. They're not like terms, we cannot put them together. So we like to put the x term first because it has a letter, and then the 15 behind it. So y is almost by itself. Our last step is to divide. So I divide everything by 5. This was 5 times y, so to undo multiplication, I divide by 5. So my final answer here is y equals negative 3 over 5 does not reduce, that just stays, negative 3 over 5. 15 divided by 5 is the number positive 3. So that is the equation of my line, y equals mx plus b. So now that I have the equation and y equals, I can graph. I start at positive 3, just like yesterday. This is a negative slope, so down 3 and over 5. Down 3, over 5. Up 3, over 5. Whee. So that is the equation of my line. Let's look at number 2. Again, our goal is to get y by itself because we want to graph this line. To get y by itself, we start by moving the 2x, so minus 2x, minus 2x. That leaves me, there's still a negative there, so negative 4y equals, that's a negative 2x, a plus, and a 16. We need to get y by itself, so we're going to divide by negative 4. So now it's just y equals, we need to reduce. Negative 2 over negative 4 can simplify. If you struggle with simplifying fractions, you can press Control Divide and then just type in negative 2 over negative 4. And that leaves me with a positive 1/2. There's an x there. And then 16 divided by negative 4 is a minus 4. So we solved for y. We got y by itself. So now I'm going to graph this line. Just like yesterday, we start on our y-intercept, negative 4. This slope is positive, so we go up 1 and to the right 2. So from my dot, up 1, over 2, up 1, over 2, up 1, over 2, up 1, over 2. Connect your dots. Okay, so we solve for y, and then we graph just like we graphed yesterday. Okay, let's look at these last two. So number 3, again, we need to get y by itself. I draw a line. To get y by itself, we start by moving the x. This time it's a negative 4x, so to undo a negative, I need to add 4x. Go to the other side, add 4x. That leaves me with a positive 6y equals, these are not like terms, so it's 4x, and then a positive 12. We need to get y by itself, so I divide everything by 6. That leaves me with y equals 4 over 6 simplifies, they're both even, so that's the same as 2 over 3. 12 divided by 6 is the number positive 2. Very easy. Again, if you struggle with simplifying, you can press Control Divide and just type in 4 over 6, and it will give you this answer, 2 over 3. So now we can graph. We start at positive 2. We go up 2 and over 3, up 2 over 3, up 2 over 3, 2 over 3, 2 over 3, 2 over 3. Easy. All right, number 4. So in number 4, woohoo. Okay, let's look at number 4. So in number 4, I like to put invisible ones. That's a 1x, and that's a 1y. Again, we are solving for y. So in order to get y by itself, we need to subtract the x. Get rid of your x. They're an x for a reason. Move it to the other side. That leaves me with negative 1y equals negative 1x plus 3. We need to get y by itself, so we divide by negative 1 for every single term. So that leaves me with y equals negative 1 divided by negative 1 is a positive 1x. 3 divided by negative 1 is a negative 3. So now we are going to graph this. So I'm going to begin at negative 3, and my slope is going to be up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, and then continue your line. Very easy. Okay, so now we're going to tie this into what we are doing today. So in my first example, we now have 2 equations instead of 1. So I'm going to rewrite my first equation. It says x minus y equals 1. So just like we did before, I like to put ones. That's a 1x, and that's a 1y. It makes it where it seems exactly the same as the ones we did before. So just like on that first page, we need to solve for y. To solve for y, we subtract our x to the other side. That leaves me with negative 1y equals negative 1x plus 1. We need to get y by itself, so we divide every single piece by negative 1. That leaves me with y equals 1x minus 1. So now we're going to do the same thing, but with the second equation. 2x plus y is negative 4. Not smart. Okay, so 2x plus y is negative 4. So that's, I need to get y by itself. Draw my border. In order to move the x to the other side, we have to subtract 2x and subtract 2x. That leaves me, there's just a y there, so y equals negative 2x minus 4. Y is by itself, so we are done with this question. So I'm going to rewrite these to the side because I need to move the screen. So y equals 1x minus 1, and y equals negative 2x minus 4. And goodbye. Okay, so now that I have my 2 equations, I can graph. First equation begins at negative 1, and it goes up 1 to the right 1. Up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. Okay, so that's my first equation. My second equation has a y-intercept of negative 4. This one goes down 2 because it's negative, and over 1. Same pattern in the other direction. Okay, so that's called a system of equations. The solution, like we said yesterday, is the ordered pair where the 2 lines intersect. Left 1, down 2 is the solution to my 2 lines of this equation. Very easy. Go ahead and try the same thing for number 2. So step 1, solve for y. I'll do this one with you. So 6x minus 1y equals 4. Circle the letter you want alone. Draw a border. Get y by itself by subtracting 6x. That leaves me with a negative 1y equals negative 6x plus 4. Divide by negative 1 for every single term. Negative 6 divided by negative 1 is 6x. 4 divided by negative 1 is minus 4. Same thing, next line, 6x minus y is 2. Circle the letter you want by itself, draw your border. Put your invisible 1 in front of that y. We need to subtract 6x. We always move the x first. That leaves me with negative 1y equals negative 6x plus 2. Last step, get y by itself. Y equals negative 6 divided by negative 1 is 6 with an x. 2 divided by negative 1 minus 2. I'm going to rewrite these to the side. You don't have to do the rewriting. I'm just rewriting it so I have room. So this way I can move my screen. Voila. Missed a spot. Okay, so now we're ready to graph. So in the first line, my y-intercept is a negative 4. My slope is 6, which is the same as 6 over 1. So that's a very steep line. My second equation has a y-intercept of negative 2. And then again, up 6. Woo. I didn't like this equation, I forgot y'all, sorry. Ooh, terrible question. There we go. So what happens here is these lines are never, ever, 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 ever going to touch, so we write no solution. The reason why they don't touch is because they had the same slope. Lines with the same slope, but they had different y-intercepts, means that they're never gonna touch. No solution. Very easy. So go ahead and try the rest of these. You are solving for y, graphing the lines, and seeing where they intersect. Very easy day.